So a really powerful way to make significant lumps of cash in property is through flips. But what I want to cover in this video is, first of all, what the hell is a flip in the first place? And more importantly, what do they not tell you about flips when making money through property? Hey, my name's Jamie York, and if you're new to the channel, I've been investing in property for the better part of a decade now, and I've created this channel since last summer to help show you the tips, tricks, and techniques that you can implement in your property investment journey so you can miss out and may take advantage of my mistakes so that you don't have to. And if that interests you, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And hey, if this video adds particular value to you, smash the like button. It helps me get this video out to more people like yourself. But let's jump straight in. So, what is a flip? A flip is simply where you are either buying or not buying, I'll get to that in a moment, adding value to the property and selling it on, okay? So this is a capital strategy. A capital strategy is you are making money by disposing of an asset. And it's also quite an active strategy, okay? Which is not a bad thing in property, but people seem to get obsessed with buy-to-lets, which I love as well, I'm obsessed with them, and the passive side of things. But that's not a business. That is an investment, and people need to stop treating it like a business. The capital assets, so flips, deal packaging, things like that, they are capital and active income streams. So what we're going to do is get an asset, add value to it, and sell it on. That is the overall basis of a flip. So there's a few different ways of making money through a flip. Now, the most common people think is buying, refurbishing, and selling on. And that will always stand the testament of time, okay? And you can make money in any market through a flip, but it is easier when the market is either stagnant or you've got growth. But often when you're at the extremes of the cycle, don't really know what I'm doing there, remember the market is cyclical, i.e. it goes up and down. When you are on an extreme up, it becomes a bit more difficult because often, like right now and at the point of filming this, when the market is going like that, people are buying a property for what it should be worth when it is refurbished. So it's really hard. And obviously if it's on a sharp decline, it's really hard to work out where that's going to settle. So those are the only two parts of the market where you can still make money, but it's slightly less predictable. But that's not only the only way to make money through flips. Another really common one, typically in higher value areas, is by adding rooms. So buying a 2-bed property and looking at the layout of the property and splitting that up and getting a 3rd bedroom. Or in London especially, this is common, you get a 1-bedroom flat and typical layout, if you can, I'll draw it. A typical layout, let's say you've got a 1-bed flat here, and then what happens is you might have your access here, whatever it is, you might have a bedroom here, and you might have, say, sort of a separate room, so maybe a dining room or a front room, and then the kitchen. And then what people do is go, nope, we'll turn that into a bedroom, and then you'll have something very typically with this sort of layout. A TV there, a sofa here, and then a kitchen there. And it's more sort of a studio feel. Very, very common in London as well, where you might buy something for 350 grand, spend 60 grand on it, and it's worth about $500,000. Nice easy money, eh? Once you're in London, you can do that sort of thing. Let's rub that off. Another really common way that most people don't think about is you can buy, refurbish on there, yes. You can also do a straight trade. That is a type of flip. A straight trade, if you've watched the video, is our High Wycombe video. So High Wycombe is a property that we purchased for, oh, here we go. Let's see if I can get this right. So it's got a RICS valuation on it of 495. We ended up buying it at 385. I hope these figures are right, but you'll watch the video and tell me they're wrong. We bought it at 385. We sold it for 475. So at a slight discount to the open market value, and we did nothing to the property. So we bought it at 385. We sold it at 475. We'll put a link to that video in the description so you can go and watch that after. That is called a straight trade. Okay, so we did nothing to the property, which brings me on to another tip, which I'll get to in a moment. But added no value to the property. It's all about the vendor's situation. The other way to make money that not many people talk about is, instead of buying the property, you don't buy the property, refurbish and sell. I'm going to say that again. Most people think you can buy, refurbish and sell, but a really great way to make money through a flip is do not buy the property, refurbish and sell. And what this is called is an assisted sale. Now, I actually haven't done a video deep diving around this, but we've added it to our list, and I am going to be creating a video on what an assisted sale is and what you need to look out for when you're looking for your next assisted sale flip opportunity. But the point is, you don't actually need to own the asset to benefit from the capital uplift as you're going through. The final versions are some sort of split. Now, this isn't just splitting into the rooms. You can do a title split. So often what you have is, sometimes you have a property that once was a house, but what they've done is divided it into two 1-bed flats and a 1-bed flat there. Now, often what happens is people did this years ago, didn't change it. But the thing is, if they are on their own council tax and their own utilities, and they have separate access, then it can legally be two flats. And what you can do is, the whole is known as a freehold. And what you can do is split that into two leaseholds. So it is now legally two flats. So let's say that whole house is worth 150 grand, usually as a 3-bed terrace property, but 1-bed flats in the area are worth 95 grand. Okay, now let's assume they're decent nick, they're all on their own, and then you split those up. You've got two 95 grand properties, 95 and 95, which is 190,000. Nice capital uplift strategy, which you can either refinance and keep the flats pretty much for free, or flip them on for the purpose of this video and make a nice chunk of profit. So some things that you don't get told when doing flips that I think are really important to be aware of. Number one is, you need to know the ceiling in your area. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a glass ceiling sometimes, i.e. you can smash through that bad boy, but ceiling prices in an area are there for a reason. If something is 100k and nothing has ever sold for over 100k, it could be 500,000 on that street, in that area, you cannot think, I'll tell you what, I'll buy this for 90 grand, I'll spend 30k on it, and then I'll sell it for 150, right? No, it does not work like that. And the problem is, most people get into property when the market is excitable, i.e. when the market is going like that, any Tom, Dick and Wombat can get involved in property. Can get involved in property and make money. The problem is, everyone thinks they're a bloody expert here. It's like the cryptocurrency crowd. Oh yeah, look at me now. And then they shut up when it dips. And then look at me now. And then they shut up when it dips. It's the same with every strategy, okay? Everyone wants to talk when things are going well. What you need to understand is, there are ceiling prices. There are ceiling prices in an area, and you need to understand that the money is made at the price you buy, not the price you sell. The price I sell is pretty predictable. I know when I'm putting in my offer, give or take, what I'm going to end up selling it for. I'm very fortunate that nothing has ever sold for less than I thought it would, and I'm very fortunate that sometimes it's sold to more. But that is the icing on the cake, but I had the cake already. Okay, and that's the important thing. When you're buying the property, you're buying the cake, everything else is icing on top. Two big costs with a flip. Number one is the refurb, and number two is time. You are going to go over on both. I can near guarantee you will underestimate how long it's going to take you, and you will underestimate how much it's going to cost. If it is one of your first 5 properties, I strongly suggest checking it out, what you think it's going to be, and then add 20% to that. And by the way, I'm not saying if you add 20%, that needs to hit your minimum criteria of profit level. But if it did go 20% over and 20% overpriced, have a look at what your profit margin is going to be. would you still buy that property? If that was your worst case scenario, I'm not saying it needs to hit your high levels of expectations. If that were your worst case situation, would you still buy that property? And if the answer is no, don't buy it, or readjust your purchase price and renegotiate before you move forward. Talking about cost within this, the next thing is the cost of finance, COF, which everyone seems to ignore. It's very easy to get a property if you're not taking account of cost of finance. Most of you are going to be borrowing. Even when we're putting in our offers, we always assume a 10% interest. This is even if we're not paying that, okay? If you have got an abundance of money, then really the only finance cost you need to factor in is opportunity cost, which is a real economic cost, okay? Which I'm not gonna jump into the economics, but op cost or opportunity cost is typically taken account of at 5%. It's to give you a closer metrics of the real value of money when it's in there and the real return, or the initial rate of return, the IRR, which is way too advanced for this video in economics. But please, please, please factor in the cost of finance, else you will be left feeling sad like Dave. The next big mistake that I see all the time is labor. So labor is going to be one of your biggest costs. So when you're doing a refurb, you've got the cost of labor and the cost of materials. Cost of materials is always fun. I always love negotiating. I love haggling with Howdens, whoever it is, and you can negotiate some phenomenal deals. Here's the great thing about materials. If you get a £5 kitchen for £4, you've got a £5 kitchen for £4. The material value hasn't changed. The quality of that kitchen hasn't changed. You're just a kick-ass negotiator. Give yourself a pat on the back. But I want to talk about a form of economics called a false economy. And that is when it comes to labor costs. Labor costs and negotiating on labor is a false economy, in my opinion. And the reason for that is that negotiating on somebody's value of their time is disrespectful. Okay, so what a lot of people do is if they've got somebody at £70 a day, £80 a day, and at £100 a day, a majority of people will go, £70 a day, please. But there's a reason why. Now, there's a lot of books on this and the habits of highly effective people, okay? And something I always think with a good tradesperson is they measure twice and they cut once. And the reason why they've got to that is they understand the purpose of time value. Price is what you pay, and write this down. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. If somebody's going to judge whether they do business with me on my prices, I'm never going to work with them, okay? Everyone that works with us in any of my companies, whether it's you want to get training by me, don't expect my training to be the cheapest, but it will be the best. If you are looking to get a property source for you and you want to work with us, don't expect the cheapest prices. We focus on quality. Even the areas that we find our properties, we're not going to the shithole areas where you're going to get your house smashed in. We focus on good capital growth areas. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. And you need to factor that into your labor, because I'd rather pay once than pay cheap. You pay twice. Linking in with labor and the quality of work, always have a spec sheet and a schedule of works. So I'm not saying you need this PERT analysis, which most people don't have a clue what PERT analysis is, and this strict project management timeline and Mr. Roboto. Get the WD-40 on you, loosen up a bit. But you need to have guidelines, okay? Your idea of a great end quality is very different to mine. The amount of times I've been told by one of my refurb teams, yep, all done, ready to move in, and I'll go in there, and you might have seen on some of my property reviews, I'm still going around now going, the fuck is this? You know, it's not to my level that's acceptable. So I need to tighten up that spec sheet. Okay, and that's going to help them understand what good quality means to me. And ultimately, I'm the client, right? They need to work to that. And it's the same with a schedule of works. If it's going to take 12 weeks, you do not go, right, here we are, I'll check in with you 12 weeks, which I've done right at the beginning, by the way. Story for another time. But if I know phase 1 is this and it's taken 3 weeks, and I check in a couple of times a week, hey, are we still on schedule to finish by this date for phase 1? Yes, mate, all good. Or it's going to be delayed a day. That's really important, because who's meant to be coming in on that day? If they're delayed, somebody else is delayed. And by having a spec sheet and a schedule of works, it really tightens down the costs and increases the value of the property and the build done. Another really big one, and we're going to jump onto the laptop for this, is utilizing software. The problem with walking around the area and getting a vibe for the area is you don't know shit from walking around. You might know from living in the area for years what area is rough and things like that. But let me take Dartford as an example. I'm from South East originally. I live up in Leeds now, but I'm a Dartford boy. And that area is a shithole in my opinion, because I lived there all my life. I was the chavvy little scallywag doing a little tag on the wall, I'm sorry to say I was, but that was my background, you know, that was me growing up, so I just assumed everything was rough there. Actually, now that I know a lot more about investment, it's an incredible investment area, one of the best in the UK in terms of growth over the last decade or so. Absolutely phenomenal. So I don't rely on just what I'm seeing, I rely on the software. And what we're going to jump into is something called streetcheck. Is it the most accurate and up to date? No, there is something called property data, but property data is really good, but it's a paid for service, okay? I love it, we utilize it, but streetcheck is a free version of that. Let's jump in right now, because what you're looking for is how many people actually are owner occupiers in the area. The reason that's important is we want to know who wants to live here and who's buying there, because those are the people that drive up the capital growth in the area, and something you should definitely factor in. Okay guys, so I wanted to quickly jump on here and just jump on streetcheck and show you what you're going to be looking at. Now, the great thing about this is the data is slightly out of date, which is really annoying, but the census you can see here is coming in, and that will update a lot of the information on this from that. Okay, so there is going to be a big update very soon, but this is what you're seeing, and it's completely free. So let's just go to an area, and I know the first thing you're going to do is type in something about you. So let's go to an old address, let's say LS101PT. I know you're going to type in your first thing, okay, your property where you live. The first thing I'd say is don't be scared if you end up looking at, for example, the crime in the area, okay? There's a lot of crime. So this is on Chadwick Street. That's really annoying. These ads coming up. Close that. So you can see here, look how much crime there is. There's loads, and you can see the maps here of all this crime in a new area. It's everywhere, okay? That's just January. Okay, please don't be deterred by that. It's everywhere. So let's just go back to what you're seeing here. So what you can see on streetcheck is you can see a summary, housing, people, culture, and it's a proper breakdown of social grades of people, ethnicity group, which, you know, I don't give a fuck around. I shouldn't swear like that. Don't really give a crap though. Employment is really important to me. You know, so this, look here, a real big proportion here is there. You can see what's nearby as well, but what I'm really interested in is this. Housing types, so pretty much everything flats around there. But does, like, you know, you look in here, and this is what I'm interested in. Owner occupancy, okay? So this is what you want to be looking at. That's interesting. Not many people, 3 or more. But this here is where how many are owned? So the majority here are private landlords, okay? And this is because it was created as like the rental era, just before the last crash in this era. But what you're looking for is the owner occupier rates here. So this is a poor example of this, but if I go to another area in Leeds, LS42JU, okay? So what we're looking for here is, you can see, look, they're mainly terrace properties. Owned outright, 18. That's quite high. You know, bear in mind that's 16%. And you can read here, higher than average level of rented houses, excluding social housing. The reason for that is it's quite a heavy HMO area as well. But owned outright, 18. Owed with mortgage. So that's quite heavy owner occupiers. So there's 49, and that's just pretty, like, that's on this road. Okay, this is on Haddon Place. But what's that? 49 out of that, about 40 odd percent is owner occupied. That is really strong. Anything above around 35% is great. And what that's showing me is actually there are people that want to live here, and that's going to drive up those prices. The other thing that I'm seeing here is this. This is really a really great sign. that private landlords represent 54%. Okay. 54 out of 119. So it's showing me even the people that are there as an investment, they are looking for properties in this area, and if not, somebody else is going to buy it. What that's showing me is if I've got a property to sell, it is going to sell. Let's jump straight back to the board. The final one that I want to finish on is really just pushing forward that the money in a flip is when you buy or you agree, because remember on assisted sale, you're not buying it. It's when you agree the purchase price. It's not so much about the sale price. If you're relying on the market going up, that is not smart. You are getting lucky. The problem with a lot of investors is they justify their decisions by the outcome. This is not a totalitarianism approach to investing. That was a big word by me. Okay, you are not looking at the outcome trying to justify the inputs. Do your numbers at the beginning. The money is when you buy, okay, not when you sell. Remember, you're buying the cake, everything else is just icing on top of it. Hopefully that's added a load of value. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments. We try to reply to every single one, but they are building up. But leave a comment, let me know what you think. And hey, I'd really appreciate your support if you are getting value from these videos. And the way that you can do that is if you're not subscribed already, then hit the subscribe and the notification bell. If you are, and if you're not, hit the like. It really does help me out as a YouTube channel. We are growing really rapidly, and it's all thanks to you. So smash the like button. I'll see you in the next video. And hey, whilst you're here, why don't you check out this video just to the left right now?